Hey everyone, Moses Magnum here, live from LA Comic Con with our friend Edward Davis. Edward, man, we've known each other probably about three years or so.
Oh yeah, we
in
met.
The comic space.
We met in 2020, right before the world decided to shut down on us. That last con the last con that happened before the shutdowns.
How has it been navigating back? Like, because you've been working straight through. Like, you're probably the only comic book company. Well, the independent guys, really, the ones that have been working all the way through.
Yeah.
How was that for you? Like navigating that new market space.
It was tricky, but I think it did help me grow in a lot of ways. Because when everything shut down, I had to rethink all of my strategies. I had booked so many cons, and I was ready to work all the different cons in the area, and then there were no cons. So I had to actually develop an online presence. I had to find podcasters. I had to find any kind of mediums where I could tell people about my book when you can't go out into the world. So it helped me to grow and expand. And through the pandemic, we were still able to release 3 issues of Immortal Era, but I just did those through Kickstarter. I ran them on the web store. So I had to find new ways. So I think it was a terrible thing, but it did allow for areas of growth that I never would have imagined I would have to do.
And that's one of the things that struck, like I have in my mind when I think of you and Immortal Era, is that like your business model is a little different for the Kickstarter model. Like you actually have them printed before you sell them, right?
Yeah, I really like to be able to fulfill my Kickstarters immediately. That way people know they're not backing it and now you're going to wait 6 months. I mean, I'm waiting on a few books and it's been 2 years. And nothing irritates me more than that. So I think if it irritates me, it's going to irritate my customers as well. So I make sure that the book is printed and in hand before the campaign even launches. There's been a few cases where it's not been completely done, but during the campaign it ends up printed. So I like to have it to where I have very quick turnarounds, and that way I can launch more books in a year. Because my goal is to have 4 to 5 comics per year, and if you're having to wait on the printing after the Kickstarters, you can't pull that off.
Nice. Now, speaking of the Kickstarter, you have one now.
I do.
Active as we speak.
I have an active
Tell us a little bit
Kickstarter.
about that. It's Corruptor, right?
It's Corruptor. It's a brand new series. It's set in the Immortal Era universe, but it takes place before Immortal Era begins. So if you haven't read the story of Immortal Era, it tells about a world where everybody has become immortal, but it's a miserable world and they're on a mission to bring death back in. Corruptor happens before that, but I tried to write a story that had a completely different tone and vibe. So it's set in the year 1999, and it's a mafia hitman who's our main character of the story. He's a completely terrible human being, and it's kind of fun to write a character like that. And he gets killed in his final job, and immediately he's pulled in by a demon who says, "We need you to come down to hell. We're going to give you one chance to save yourself from suffering an eternity in hell, and that's by going back to Earth and corrupting souls, because we want to make sure that we have the most souls before this event that's going to block all the portals to the afterlife occurs." So heaven and hell both know that the Immortal Era is about to start, and they're just trying to have that final win in the battle of the most souls before the world ends, essentially.
Nice. And looking good in the Kickstarter, right? We're funded already?
We're fully funded. Yesterday we just unlocked the first stretch goal. So I like to, whenever I do Kickstarters, I also like to really fill the envelope with lots of cool stuff. So a lot of stuff that you'll even see on the table when I do a con are things that were stretch goals in the Kickstarter.
Nice.
So if you would back to the Kickstarter, you would have got the stickers, you would have got the magnets, the pins, the cards. All of those are things that I give away as stretch goals, because I look at it as, if someone's willing to keep coming back and reading my material, I want them to feel rewarded. More than just going to a comic shop and picking a book off the shelf. If you get a book, you'll get stretch goals. I always write a personal thank you card to all the people that back, because I want people to know that I appreciate every bit of business that I get.
Nice. Adam, look at me. Now, since we are funded, can you hand me my copy now?
Of course. There you go.
Thank you. I got mine. I backed it, and I'm happy to do it. and I'm happy to come and get it. I was surprised getting it. That's a nice touch, man. I love that.
Yeah, I like, and I've told people, if you back it, I had someone else come and back it. He walked away with his copies as well. So
Nice.
I like to make him feel like if you're backing it, you get it, and then whatever stretch goals, I'll ship those off to you as soon as the campaign closes.
That's cool. And as far as conventions, when's your next one? What's the next one on the schedule for you?
The next convention will be Pasadena, and then after that, WonderCon.
After that one, okay. So we got a little break in between
Yeah,
Pasadena and WonderCon.
The end of the year kind of slows down, so there's one in January. Nothing so far in February, but if there's a local one that opens up, I'll definitely hit that. And I always send out in my newsletter, if you go to Finish Line Comics, there's a place you can sign up for email newsletter, and at that point you can see what appearances we have, because I'll probably do a couple comic book signings, comic book shop signings and things like that, but I won't know until I discuss it with the shops. But definite with Pasadena and WonderCon.
Okay. Now, if people do want to buy these online, finishlinecomics.com is
Yes,
where
I have
to
a
do it?
web store on there. You can get everything, pretty much everything that's on the table besides Corruptor. That one won't go into my web store until after I fulfill all the Kickstarters.
Nice. And how about digital? You sell digital comics?
I do have digital copies, so if you go on the Kickstarter or even to my web store, I do have digital copies that are available there.
Sounds good. Edward Davis, ladies and gentlemen.